this is what I'm going to do for today. So what I will explain how the code is working, and then also point out a bug in the current code. So I want you to fix it and also add 2 additional buttons. And also as a bonus, I hope that you can add 2 more buttons to make the calculator looks nicer, because right now there are 16 buttons on the calculator, and if you add 2 more buttons, then there are going to be 2 small empty space over there, on the bottom right. If you add 2 more buttons, then you're going to make the calculator looks better again, and add additional features for the calculator. And this is, let me actually explain to you. This is one of the implementation. There are many different implementations. Some of the implementation is much better, but it's actually working. So, okay, so let me first bring up the screen. Okay, I think that's the calculator 1. I just posted it over there. So this is actually the code that it was originally created by another author. His name is Malik, and I updated the code so to make it work, and it should be much better code. So as we mentioned that when we actually try to implement the Java GUI, the JFrame, there are 2 ways to implement the JFrame. One is you create a JFrame object. So you can declare an object like a JFrame. So like my calculate JFrame. So it's actually, you can declare it as this, but also you can create your own class. So, and it extends the JFrame. So your class, in this case, the class I create is called calculator1, which is a derived class of JFrame. So it's a subclass of JFrame. So basically the advantage of doing this is that the calculator1 gonna inherit all the functions that was defined in the JFrame, and also I can add my own. So these are the components I'm going to add for my calculator1, which is also a JFrame, right? Because it's a derived class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one JText field, which basically used to display the result. Okay. And also I'm going to add 16 buttons, J buttons. And I'm going to organize this button as an array. So J button is an array. Okay. So it's an array of 16 elements. And then there's another array of strings. Okay. Array of strings. It's called keys. So each of the values of a string will be displayed on the corresponding button. So 7 will be displayed on the button, the first button, which is on the top left. And then the next one going to be 8, going to be 9, division, which is forward slash, and 4, 5, 6 asterisk, which is a multiplication, 1, 2, 3, and the subtractor, and 0. C is cleaning button. So if you don't like everything on the screen, you want to start from the scratch, you can click C to clean the screen. Okay. Now, if you have used the calculator, you should know what does the C actually mean, right? Equal and a plus. So it's perfect setting for a calculator of 4x4. Now these are the 4 variables I actually defined, and I'm going to explain this later because these are very important. Now, num string 1 is the first operander. So, but when we use the calculator, we're gonna actually first press the number, a number, right? And then you press the operator, plus, minus, division or multiplication, right? So, and then you're gonna actually enter your second number. Now the first number going to be stored in the num string 1. The second number going to be stored in num string 2. Okay. Now the num string 1, string 2 is actually I declare as a string. Just remember this, because when I do the arithmetic, I have to do this with numbers. Okay. But however, so when you actually organize these numbers, so I have to use the string. But so that basically means I have to actually convert back and forth between string and the numbers. Okay. When I do the arithmetic, I need a number. But when I try to display, I need to convert the number into the string. So in here, what you need to do is you need to know the difference between these two. Okay. One is the let me hide. Okay, one is the sometimes I'm going to use the number, for example, num string 1. So it could be like okay, so it's a number, but it's actually it's a string, you know. So then num string 2 going to be something like 76. Okay, so you just need to realize it is a number, but it's actually inside the double quotes. So it's also a string. So Java provides a way to convert back and forth between the string and between a number. Okay. So this is actually going to be displayed in the source code. Okay. Now back to the code. Okay. So I created 16 buttons, one text field, and also 16 array of keys. And I declared that's the operator, which could be plus, which could be minus, which could be asterisk, which basically means multiplication, or forward slash means division. And then there's another Boolean variable. It's called first import. Okay, I will explain this because this basically used to control when I press the number, I need to know the number I'm pressing, whether this is the first number or the second number, or means whether this belongs to num string 1 or num string 2. Okay. So calculator 1, that's the constructor. So the calculator 1 gonna actually set a title. Okay, let me actually run this code. See. Okay, so let me compile the code, Java C. Oh, sorry. I don't know why it's actually becomes a capital. It should be lowercase Java. Okay, I compile it and I can run this. Okay. So this is actually the calculator 1. That code I actually posted on the Blackboard. So you should have that code as well. Okay. Now I'm going to explain line by line about this code. Okay. So so the first part is you realize that the calculator 1 is a JFrame, right? Because calculator 1 extends the JFrame. So it can actually, so one of the method called set title, This method is not defined in calculator 1, but it's defined in JFrame, so I can use it. The purpose for this method is to set a title. So the title is my calculator. So this is going to be over here in the frame. So part of the, because it's too narrow, so part of this is actually hidden. So if I actually extend this one, you can see my calculator, right? So this is actually the title, my calculator. Now I can set the original size as 230 by 200. So it's a 230 by 200 square. It's actually pixels. So you have a 230 pixels horizontally and 200 pixels, you know. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a vertically. So 200 so it's actually 230 pixels is actually the width, and the 200 is the height. Okay. So, and then I'm gonna trigger the container. So the container is actually already declared in the JFrame. So you can actually get by calling the method get container pen. So then you can actually get a container, which is actually, you know, in the JFrame. So the pen is basically only part of this, exclude the title. Okay. So then I set the layout for the container. That's by default I use. And then I'm gonna actually put the display text. So the display text is the J text field. So that's the top one. This one. Okay. So this is the display text. It's a J text field. So I set the size of display text, which is 200 by 30. So it's a 200 long and the height is 30. It's a pixel. Okay. And the location, for the display text is I set the location. Okay. Now let me and then I actually add the display text into the pane, which is the container. Okay. So let me actually explain this again in the over here. So let me. So if you take a look at this figure, so this whole thing is JFrame, right? Now it's actually the calculate. It's a calculate one, but it's actually it's a JFrame object. Okay, so it's a calculator one, and then the J text field, that's display text. So this is this one, and then there's a button which is array of these are called a button. Okay, now you can see that it's a button from button 0 to button 15. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, now that's the container. The container is actually from here to here. Okay. Now remember, when I set a location for the text field, the displays text. When I say display text, dot setter location, right? Okay, I'm running out of space as I continue. So I put the 10, 10. Now this is the coordinate. The 10 is the x coordinate. The second 10 is y coordinate. So if I look at this, so that's the original point. That's 0, 0. So that's the top left corner of the container. So that's the coordinate 0 and 0. And this is the x coordinate. and this is the y coordinate. Okay, so if you look at the two-dimensional, so you will find out the horizontal is the x coordinate and the vertical is the y coordinate. Now, so when you set the location of the display text, the location is actually marked by the top left corner. That the coordinate of this top left corner is the location of the display text. Now, what's the location here? I set up as 10, 10. So that means from original point to here, that's 10. This is the pixels, okay? And the original from here to here, that's also 10 pixels. Okay, so that's 10, 10. So based on the same token, you can see that what's the coordinate for the first button? So what's the x coordinate for the first button? Right here.
10.
Should be 10, right? Because it's a if you draw the vertical line, it's the same as the text field, the display text. Okay. Now what's the y coordinate? So that's from here, the original point, 0, 0, to here, right? So that's the y coordinate. Now what's the y coordinate? So from here to here, that's 10, right? Now from here to here, what's that distance? That's the height of these text field, right? Now let's see what's the height of the text field. So we set the display, set a size. So the length is 200, the height is 30, right? So the height of the text field is 30. Okay. So that means the coordinate for this point is, I think it's a 10, 40, right? It's a 10 plus 30. So this small distance plus this, the height of this. So it's actually start from 1040. So that's, you should, I think this x and x coordinate, y coordinate is very important because it basically just get you some kind of idea where I'm going to position each of the button. Okay. Now let's take a look at the example later on. Okay. So so this display is actually placed in the container, and then I start to set up the x coordinate and the y coordinate for each of the button. Now I initially set to 10 and 40, which is actually the location of the first button, right? Which is actually button 7. Button 7. So because the distance here, that's 10, the distance here, and distance from here to here, that's 40. Okay. Okay. Let me actually get you an example. So let me actually use the different color so I can see it directly, see the difference here. Now let me ask, what's the location for this button? So you need to find the x coordinate from here to here, right? And you need to find the y coordinate from here to here, right? Now what is this? So this is going to be 10 plus the length of the button, first button, length of the second button. Now each button has the same length. So you're going to be 10 plus these two, right? So now let's see, what's the length of the button? So for each button, I'm going to do the loop from 0 to 15. So that's the index, 0 to 15, because it's less than 16. So that means, I'm going to actually set up each of the button from 0 to 16, total of 16, 0 to 15. That's total of 16 buttons. So the first button 0, when in the for loop, when index is 0, that's the first button. So I'm going to call the constructor. So for the constructor of J button, and then I put the keys. What is key? If you remember, that's this one, right? That's the array of string. Now, key, for the first index 0, key 0 is, what's the value of key 0? That's 7, right? Key 1 is 8. Key 2 is 9. I'm sorry, it's not a number 9. It's actually a string with the character 9. Okay, it's a string. Okay, just keep that in mind. It's a string, not a number. Okay, so I declare each of the key button. And then the next one is very important. You have to actually understand this part. This part gonna actually eventually allow us to perform the operations on each of the button. Okay, so this particular statement is gonna actually register. It will register the button to something called button handler. And the button handler is CBH. It's a button handler object. Okay, button handler object. Now, what is this object? The object is calculator button handler. So that's a class. Now, where's this class? Actually, I declare this class. Okay, over here. So CBH is a object of calculator button handler. Okay, so I register my button to this button handler object. Now, this button handler object is declared on the top. Okay, this is button handler object. Okay, now what is button handler? Calculate button handler. Let me actually go down. If you actually look at the code I posted on the blackboard, you will see this. Okay, it's at the very last. Okay, it's a class. Now, calculate the button handler. So this is a very simple class. Now, this class is just a class that implements the action listener. The action listener is an interface. Okay, so action listener is an interface. In the action listener, there is a method called action performed. Now, so action listener declare a method. Okay, so action listener there's a method called action performed. Okay. So since it's a action listener, which is an interface class, so it declares a method called action performed. So when I actually create my own class called calculate the button handler, I implement the action listener. So that means the calculate button handler has to implement this method action performed. So it's an override method. Okay, but it's declared in the, it's not a super class, but it's an interface class. Okay, so then the action performed is implemented one, it will be, this method will be called, will be triggered when someone click a button. When someone click a button, so this action listener will be triggered, and this calculate button handler will be triggered. How? It's because this button handler is registered by each of the button. Okay, so the button actually just we just register button to the button handler CHB or CBH. Okay, now that CBH actually has a method implemented. This method is actually performed. So when I click the button, so it's going to trigger the event in this CHB, which is the calculate button handler. And then the method action performed will be called. When I call this, when the method action performed is called, the action event will be triggered. The event basically tells you the information about which button was triggered, which button was clicked. Okay, so this E, it's actually an event. It's action event. It's related to the particular button that triggers the click that was clicked. So one of the method in the action event is called a get action command. So this get action command will be called to get the value of the values on the button. Okay, so the value of button over here. So for example, if I click 7, button 7, so the string the string of 7 will be actually returned in this here. And this string of 7 will be actually, the value of the string of 7 will be assigned to a variable called str. Okay, so the str will receive the variable on top of each of the button. So for example, if I click 7, so basically if I click 7, so then the button 7 is clicked. Because button 7 is registered to the handler, so this action performed will be performed. Action performed will be called. And then this button 7 will be actually, the action event is related to the button 7. When I call get command and the value of get command, then the value 7 will be assigned to the str. Okay, so str will get the value. Will get the string 7. Okay. Now, if I click a 9, the str will get the value 9. Because if I click a 9, and the button 9, the button corresponding to the value 9 is also registered to the handler. So the action performed. So every time when I click a button, the action performed, which is implemented in the action list, it declared in action listener, but implemented in the calculated button handler, will be triggered and called. So then once this is called, the parameter passed is action event. This action event is basically related to the button, which button is actually clicked. So the button, when I call this value of e.get button command, get action command, and this will return the string on each of the button. So if I click a 9, so str will get a 9. Okay, it's a string. So the str will get the values on each of the button. So now how the Java going to deal with each of the value? So then I have a switch statement. The switch statement for str will be, depend on which value is clicked. If I click 7, so case 7 will be triggered, right? If I click 9, case 9 will be triggered. Now, I actually stack all these numbers together. So all these cases will call the same Java code. That's the piece of code I'm going to call. I will call. So if 7 is clicked, then it will trigger this piece of code. Okay. So the piece of code is going to check the first import. Now, what's the value of first import? Let's go back all the way to the top. So the first import value is initially set to true, right? It's a Boolean. It's a true. Okay. So let's go back to the action performed. So if I click 7, so this piece of code will execute it. And the first import is true. So that means if it's true, so this statement, these two statements would be displayed. Okay, it'll be evaluated. So what is the num string 1? Num string 1. So the string is 7, right? It's a 7. Num string 1 is a string, which is actually initially declared as empty string. Let's go back. Sorry, I have to move back and forth. So it's actually a private string initially set to empty string. So what's the purpose for num string 1? What's the purpose for num string 2? Num string 1 going to store the first operand. Num string 2 going to store the second operand. Okay. And the OP going to store the arithmetic operator. Okay. So the num string 1, when I click 7, first import is true. So num string 1, which is empty string, plus string, which is 7. So what's the operation?
That's concatenate, right?
That's concatenate. Okay. That's concatenate. So that means if it's 7, that's empty string. So eventually num string 1 going to be 7. Okay. So then next step going to be I'm going to display, I call the set text. So I'm going to set the text, which is the num string 1, which is 7, on the display text. So that's the display text. So I'm going to display 7. Okay. Now if I click 9 again, the second time when I click button 9, so then the action performed will be triggered again because of these, event handling action mechanism. So the case 9 will be called. Again, the first import is true, right? So then I'm going to do the concatenate again. So num string 1, which is currently 7, plus string, which is 9. So 7 concatenate with 9, I got 7, 9. And when I set the text on the display, 7, 9 will be displayed. Okay. So if I click another number, 1, so case 1 will be triggered. And then 1 will be concatenated again. Okay. So I click 1. Now, the next the button I will click, it will be one of the operator. Okay. So if I can click division, multiplication, minus or plus, I click a plus. Okay. If I click a plus, so then you will find out the button, which is button 15, right? The last button, the index is 15. So this will be triggered. Okay. So again, the action performed will be triggered. Okay. So the action performed will be called. And then based on the action event, I figured out, the Java figured out, oh, that's the button 15. And then I get the value of the button 15. I got plus. Okay. So str becomes a plus in this case. So now where's the plus? So I go back, go down, and I have these 4 cases. So really, it doesn't matter which one I click. I click plus or minus or multiplication, star or /. This will all goes down this piece of code. The code I'm going to execute is the string. I check the first index of the first character, which is index 0. So that's plus, right? Because the string only contains 1 character. Okay. Now the reason I put this operation right now I can directly say op. I'm gonna actually basically convert a string into op. Op is actually a character, so it's a one quote, not double quote. So that's why I want to convert a character. So I'm gonna put the string dot character at the index 0. So this gonna convert plus into character. Okay, sorry, it's a character. So the open OP gets plus. That's a character. Now look at this. The first import becomes false. False. Okay. The first import was initially it was true, right? Now I change to false because once I click any operator, plus, minus, multiplication, then any number I click in the button will be part of the second, actually number string. Okay. So that's why I changed the first import to false. Okay. And then it's done. So I click the plus, right? And then I click the next number, 4. You find out now it start to actually build up the second number. Okay. Now if I click the 4, remember, because before the 4, I click the operator. So the first import becomes false now. The OP has a value plus, right? So when I actually click number 4 again, so it will trigger the action performed and it will go to the case 4. But remember, when this piece of code is executed, the first import value has been changed, right? It's not a true anymore, it's a false. So then I start to build up the second integer. Okay, I build up the second number. So num string 2 plus string. So that's, num string 2 becomes 4. Okay. And later again. And then I display the second string. So this 4 is actually the num string 2. Just keep that in mind. And then I click another number, 5. So it's actually part of the second actually string. Any questions? Okay. Now what's next? So you click the first number, build the first number, click plus, and then you build the second number, and the next step going to be you're going to click equal, right? Okay, if I click equal, it just actually add these two numbers. Okay, now what happens? How I implement this? So if the action performed, if I click the equal button, so then the case equal is here. Okay, so in the case equal, I first gonna call. Okay, so this is different now. I first gonna call the method called evaluate. I call the method evaluate. Okay, what does the evaluate do? So, and the evaluate is gonna return a result. And I put the str over here. That means the result I'm gonna return is a string. It's not a number. Okay, so I'm gonna evaluate. How am I gonna evaluate? So let's go back and find out the evaluate. Okay, if you have a code on your own machine, you can actually scroll up and find the evaluate. This is the method called evaluate. The evaluate is going to return a string. Okay, so this method evaluate is reached when the button equal is pressed. Okay, button equal in action performed is pressed. So this method then evaluates the expression and return the result. Remember, so the num string 1 and num string 2 basically they represent two numbers. Okay, let's see. Let me actually clean this one again. Let me actually say, if I put the 12, 1, 2, down 1, 2 becomes non-string 1, and I place plus 5, 1, 5, 1. So this is going to be in non-string 2. And I click equal, it's 63, right? So then the first one I'm going to use is non-string. It's a non-string 1 is a string. So I'm going to pass this string using one of the method in the integer. That's the wrapper. Remember, it's a wrapper class, right? Wrapper class for int. So if I pass the int called actually pass int in the wrapper class integer, so then you're going to actually get rid of these two double quote, and it will give you the number. And this number will be assigned to num1. Okay, so num1 get 12. So it just peer off the outside and get the actual number. And then the num2 is peer off the num string 2. So I got 51. Okay. And then I'm going to do the calculation. So I set the result to 0 initially, and then depend on the value of op. Okay. Now, if the op is plus, which is the case in this case, right? I click a plus. So the op is plus. So then the result is going to be num1 plus num2. So which is 63. Okay. And break. I'm done. And then if the op is minus, then I do the subtraction. If the op is star, I do the multiplication. If op is forward slash, I do the division. Okay, so the result is reached. But so this is the integer, right? The result is an integer. Okay, now when I return, I want to return a string. So the returned value going to be not 63. It's actually a string value of 63. So it's actually a character 63. Okay, and it's a string. So this is actually I'm going to call a method in the string called the value of result and a string. So this is going to actually put the two double quotes, on both sides of the number, and this is going to return as a string 63. Why I want to return a string? So that's result is 63, right? 63 actual string is returned. Why I want to return a string? Because when I call the display set a text on the display text, I only display the string. So the result string str will be displayed. So that's 63 displayed. Now, once I actually display the string, then I'm going to reset the num string 1 because the result becomes num string 1, and num string 2 I set to empty string. So that means this 63 becomes the first string in my next operation, right? So I got the result 63. So then I can do the multiplication. I say times 3 equal. Now that's a new result. Okay. And then I can minus 89. I got a 100, right? So I can continue because so the result becomes the non-string 1, and the non-string 2 I reset to 0. And the first import is always false because the first import is already there. So every time, every actual number I click, it will be part of the non-string 2. So I only hope this non-string 2 will be accumulated. Okay. Now what's the case, the other button C? That's a clean button, right? So I want to clean the display screen. So I just reset the display string to set the text to empty string. So if I clean it, it's just empty it. Okay. So then I reset the non-string 1 to empty, non-string 2 to empty, and reset the first import to true. Because if non-string 1 is empty, non-string 2 is empty, first import is true, that means I actually go back to the original. So I can actually set up another 12 times 6. So I can do another operation. That's pretty simple, right? Not really simple, but if you follow this code, you can actually figure out how each part of the code is implemented. Okay. Now let's take a look at the project, the final project. Okay. So since this is the current one I have here. So when I click all these, this is going to work. So what I want you to do is, so I want to perform these operation. Okay. And you got 15 points for this operation. And then the next one you're going to perform is, I want you to fix a bug. There's a bug in this code. Which bug? Okay. Now, if I actually say clean it up, now if I type 121, okay, 121 plus 34. If I place equal, so that's 155. That's correct, right? The result is 125. Okay. Now, however, if I use this 155 as the first operator, I perform another operation, it's perfect. So I can divide 155 divided by 5. I got 31, which is correct. You can check it, okay? Now, however, if I clean this up and I have 121 plus 34 equals 155. However, if I want to perform another operation, now the other operation does not use the previous result. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. So if I say now previous operation get you 155, but I want to place another operation. Say I want to say 55 minus 23. Now 55 minus 23 should get you 22, right? However, if I click a 55 minus 22, I click equal, this gives you a very strange number. You can play with that again. So if I clean up, like 121 plus 34 equals 55, and then 23 minus 3 is supposed to give you 20, but it gave you a very strange number. Now, what's the problem with this? This is like a bug. I want you to fix that problem. I want you to fix the bug. So when I click, say, 121 plus 34 equals 155, that's correct. And then if I click override this 155 and override it with 12 minus 2, it should give you 10, right? But it doesn't. So this is a bug in the code. Okay. And then once you fix the bug, the next one I want you to work on is I want you to modify the code to add 2 additional buttons. One is the point, okay? The other one is plus slash minus. So the second button will get you, the first button allow you to extend the operation to not just the integer, but also the real number. Now, let me tell you what's the other problem with this. It's actually not a problem, but it's because this calculator only works for integer. So if I do the division like a 12 divided by 3, oh, I'm sorry, click 12 divided by 3, you get a 4, right? That's okay. So if I perform the next operation, I have to actually click a clean. Otherwise, it's going to give you a wrong result. So that's a bug I want you to fix. But if I say 13 divided by 2, it will also get you a 6. Why? Because all the operations are for integer. 13 divided by 2, you get a 6.5. But you only operate on integer numbers. So the fractional part will be discarded. So that's why it's only the integer, which is not a problem, because if you realize this division, multiplication, every operation is for integer, you will realize that all the fractional part will be get rid of. Now I want you to change this one. Add a point so you can operate on the real number, and add a plus and a minus so you can set a negative number. You set a negative number for the first operator or second operator. So let's check out. So let me actually show you how this code is going to work. I'm not going to show you the source code, but I will see you. I can tell you how this is going to operate. So let me see Java. Calculate 2. Okay. So this is supposed to be the code after you modify. Okay. Now, so if you perform the operation like a 3.5 plus 4.7, this will get you 8.2. And then you can do 3.5. Yeah. And then this also fixed the bug. So let's say if I perform 12 plus 3, this will get you 15.5. 0.0, I'm sorry. Okay. 33 or 23 point divided by 2. Okay, it will be 11.5. So I actually fixed the problem. And also, this will actually allow you to actually put the minus. For example, I say 5. Now, if I want to make this 5 minus, I can click this one. Okay, it's going to be negative 5. I can click again, it comes back. So it's just toggle back and forth. Okay. So you can actually set the number 5 and then plus 4. This gives you negative 1. Okay. So this is actually the operation I want you, to work on. Add a 2 button. Okay. Now that's pretty much the project. But if you actually want to actually get some bonus points, which is optional, so this from up to 7, you will get 100. Okay, if you do everything correct. But if you want to get 120, you get bonus points. Then I want you to add additional 2 buttons. One is SR, which is actually the square root. The other one is square. Okay. So for example, if you want to perform the square of 2.5, 2.5 square, for example, the square of 2.5 is 2.5 squared is 6.25. So I can click 2.5 and the square button. So this is gonna get you 6.5, 6.25. So now you can perform the operation like a 12.1 plus square root of 4 equals something. Then you can press 12.12.1 plus 4 square root. Okay. Now 8.1 times 1.2 square, that's 8.1 times 1.2 square. Square and the square root has a preference. It's always evaluated this first. Okay, the nearest one first. So 1.2 square will be evaluated first, and then evaluate the multiplication. And also, I want you to make sure if you put the square root of -4, you will display something like NaN. So that's not the correct answer. There's no actually the negative square of negative number is not going to work. That's the bonus points I want you to work on. Okay. I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about for today. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask. Or on this Friday, it's gonna be some kind of like an office hour or answer question and answer section. So you can talk to me for any questions you might have for the final project. Okay, you're always welcome to discuss with me on this. Now, in the code, if you actually look at the code you want to update, you will realize, so which part you need to update, right? So first you need to change the calculator 1 to calculator 2 and save as another file. Don't mess up the original calculator, okay? So calculator 1 will be kept. You need to copy to another file and change everything to calculator 2. And then you need to add a couple of more operate buttons, 2 more buttons, right? So if you add 2 more buttons, you need to change a couple of places, right? So at least you need to change here. You need to add 2 more keys. And also the J button, which is 16 button now, but you need to add into 18 buttons, right? So that's something you need to change. And the other change you need to make is, okay, you can either, for the case like a square root, you need to define another cases in this case, okay? But you can also define, a dedicated method for square root and a square, and then called in here. And then in this switch, the action performed, you need to actually handle, add additional 2 cases. One is the point. The other one is plus and minus, okay? So you need to add additional cases. And then you need to figure out, if I click at the point, what kind of operation I need to perform. Okay. Any questions?
Professor, I have a question about solving the bug in the calculator program. I've been working on it for a while, and I can't find the bug, but I'm wondering, what sort of thing am I looking for? Am I looking for like one statement that's wrong, or like an entire chunk of code that doesn't exist that needs to be written?
So let me actually ask a question. You say you cannot find a bug or can find a bug?
I can reproduce the bug, but I can't find the code that is causing it.
Okay. Now here's the thing. Let me actually, that's a good question. Let me actually go back to the code again. So let's see. CD. Okay. So let's just do this again. Now the key point is, okay, if I click 121 and plus 34 and plus equal, so then you need to figure out after this. So the non-string 1 is the result string, right? So the non-string 1 is this number, right? Non-string 2 is 0, and the first import is false. So then, what's the problem? If I click any number here, instead of click operator, treat this as an operator, I click another number, I say I get rid of this 155, and I start with my own new operation. So I click 1, 2 again. 1, 2 again. Now this 1, 2 will be stored in where?
Oh, it gets put in numstring 2 because it.
Yeah.
I see.
It's in numstring 2. So then, if I click the operator again, any operator, no, minus. So in the operator, if I click the operator again, so the operator will get the correct operator. And then our first import becomes false, but it's already a false, right? So then if I click another number, what are you going to see? So it's still going to continue to add. It's not going to switch to because the first number you put in there is already in num2, but the second number you put, if you put the additional number, so you're going to continue to add downstream 2, right? So downstream 1 still never going to be changed. You see the point here? So it's actually messed up the two number. So when I click equal again, so it looks like it's going to be the previous result, the result applied on the new operation with the new downstream 2. You see the point here? You messed up two operation. Now,
right, and so if I change in the case equals,
yeah,
if I change first input to true.
Let me give you a clue. Let me give you a clue. Okay. So what about if, so you probably need to create another variable over here. Okay, in the over here, maybe. Okay. So maybe it's a character. Okay. So so I called is I don't know which one number called. It can be previous. Is so I called like I could not figure out which one, but I just called X. Okay, it's character X. So initially, it's okay. It's maybe something like this. Okay. So if I do this, now the purpose for this character I'm gonna use, okay, or maybe I don't have to do this. I just say maybe call it was it equal, and I call this, and I explain why. So this is a character. Now I just need to remember. So when I click equal, and then I'm gonna say, okay, was it so if I so once the equal is clicked, then was it equal is equal. Okay. So then when I actually click any number, I need to check whether it's a first import or was it equal. If it was it equal, then if I click the number again, so then you need to actually, figure out how can I do with this. If the value was it equal is not equal, if it's a empty string, say, let's say initially it's empty, okay, empty string, then that means this is the first time I just do this. Now, if was equal is equal, that means that result string is the num string is the previous result. But I start to click the number, I want to override it, right? So what are you going to check? So then I'm going to check, say,
if it was equal, wouldn't you want it to be?
So if I don't want to mess up this code because I want to actually save that code. Let's see. Let me see. I want to save as calculate 2, for example, or calculate 2, because I don't want to mess up the calculate 1 code. save. Okay, so I'm gonna change this calculator to. So what I'm gonna do is I create another one. Was it equal? So then, every time when you click, when someone click a number, right? Then I'm gonna check, was it equal? And I'm gonna check, was it equals 1, equal. So that means if that's the case, that means basically that we just make sure that we start a new calculation. So in that case, I'm gonna reset. Maybe I can reset to was it equal. I'm gonna reset to this, and then I can directly, as a string, whatever the string you click. Okay, so I'm gonna basically override these result, because non-string 1 is actually was a result, right? If was equal equals equal, so that means, okay, so okay, I think the time's running out, but I'm still gonna continue to talk. But if you want to leave, then you feel free to leave. But I still gonna continue with this. So if was equal is the what equal, so that means whenever I click a number, that means I want to get rid of the previous result, and I want to start a new number. So that new non-string 1 becomes the string. Does it make sense? And then I could display the non-string.
So you don't concatenate?
No, you don't concatenate it, because if you concatenate, you're gonna actually concatenate with the, because the current actual non-string 1 is result string. So it is this. You know what I mean? Because
so this is completely separate from first input. It's not first input or was equal.
So let me see this. Now if I click a 121 plus 34 equal, right? Now if I actually put the was it equal, so then the was it equal becomes equal because I clicked equal, right? Now if I actually continue with the operation, that's fine. If I say 155 minus 50, but many times people just want to start a new calculation. Say, okay, 155, that's the result of the previous calculation, and I want to perform 12 plus 5, for example, 12 plus 5, right? Now in this case, if you actually don't start from directly, if you actually say, if I say a non string 1 concatenate, you see the problem here? The non-string is not empty string. It's this.
Right.
So then that means your next calculation, your next actual calculation is going to mix up with the previous one. But you don't want to do this, right? So if you want 121 plus 34 equals, that's a result. Now next one, if you actually next one you click operator, that's okay. So 151 minus 3, so that's 152, and the times 2, that's 1. If you continue to this, but now from here, so this is what's stored in the non-string 1, right? If you continue this, but if you want to say, I want to get rid of this, I want to say 12, but this 12 is actually stored in non-string 2, and the minus 3. So this is going to give you, so this becomes the previous non-string, the result minus 122. You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay. So that's why if was equals is this, that means you are not start from the beginning. Okay. You basically you want to override the previous result. So then, because the was it equal is equal, so and say was equal, you reset to empty space, and then non-string is just whatever the string you actually put in there.
Right, and then you have to display it.
You have displayed, and then you're going to reset. Don't forget the first import becomes true, because you want to actually start from the first import is actually true, right?
Right.
Okay. Then else. Now in the else, then you're gonna put the whole full code. Then you're gonna put the first if first import is true, then you can actually, now that's the same code I actually put in here. Then you have two cases. If the first import is let's see, and then there's going to be none1. So now the follow-up, if you click another one, because was equal, if you click another one, then if you go back here, now was it equal is not equal anymore, because you changed it, right? So you're gonna go to the else. Now the else gonna actually just like the previous case, you're gonna do the concatenate, whatever the concatenate, and then you're gonna display the non-string one. Let's finish it so you can actually see how it runs. Then else, that means, okay, then that's pretty much the two. Okay. So that's if this else, then this. Yeah. Does it make sense? Let's save it. Okay. Now I'm gonna compile again. Let's see where I am now. Okay, I have a calculator too now. I think public 33. Oh, I changed the calculator too. The constructor is still calculator 1. So okay, let's see. Let's see. 7 1 plus 3 equals 74, and then 12 minus 3. Still not working. Let's see what's going on. So let's see. Was the string? Let's see. Oh, so when I equals equal. Okay, so I also need to change over here. So Need to.
Yeah, you need to set it to, because I just got it working on my end. In case equals, it needs to be true. Well, I'm just using a Boolean, so it's true if it was equal.
Okay. Yeah. So
and then
yeah, you can use a Boolean. Just say just try to make a difference between, if this is the first time you do, or if it's the screen on the number on the screen is the previous result, and if you want to continue to use the previous result as the first operator, then you can actually continue to click the operate. But if you actually want to start a new operation, then you want to actually next number you click, you want to override the number, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and the way we had just done it, it was overriding. So if you added two numbers and then tried to add a third number, it wouldn't work.
That's the idea for this. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a little bit tricky, but you can figure it out.
Yeah, I think I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your help.
Okay, no problem.
I guess I'll see you on Friday.
Okay, I see you on Friday. Let's see. Anyone else is there? Okay.